We're here to bring a new type of new show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you. It's Wednesday, December 31st here in Seoul. I'm Lee Soo-jin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Cheska.
Happy last day of
Happy
2025.
last day! Also, Moonji's with us.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So we're halfway through the week, but this Wednesday feels extra special because it's not just the middle of the week, it's the very last day of 2025. It's a day to celebrate the moments we share, the lessons we learned, and everything that made this year memorable. From the big milestones to small everyday wins, it's a chance to look back with gratitude and excitement as we get ready to welcome what's next. So, Cheska, how does it feel to be closing out 2025 and getting ready to welcome a brand new year?
Oh my God, when you were saying your intro, there were so many emotions that came and passed, and I hope our viewers had a wonderful 2025. But as with any year, if you had a lot of ups and downs, and this year was particularly a little bit tough for me, so if you had a lot going on, I really, really wish us the best start to a new year. And if you also had an incredible year, I hope that energy continues forward as the year of the horse of 2026 comes. But personally, I wish everyone a happier new year. Yeah.
I wish you a happy year too.
Yes.
And also, what about you, Moonju?
Yeah, I know it's very hard to believe how quickly the time is flowing in here, 2025. You know, personally, it will be a year to remember for me, you know, because it marks the year when I've done, I think, the most work. And while also experiencing some kind of true joy, I think, you know, reflecting on the past 364 days. Wow, we only really have one day. I experienced a mixture of, you know, regret and happiness. Overall, though, I believe 2025 has been a pivotal year for both my career and personal growth. And that being said, how was your 2025?
I think my year was good too. Good in the sense that like my standards are quite low, so nothing like too terrible happened. So I'm like, that's a win.
That's a win.
That's a win.
That's a good thing, though.
Right?
Yeah.
Win, yes.
So it's amazing how quickly time passes, and it's clear that 2025 has been a truly significant year for many as they balanced hard work and moments of true joy. Reflecting on both the challenges and successes really captures the essence of growth. So we're going to dive deeper into this topic, but first, let's take a look at the screen. The end of the year is a time to pause and reflect on the past months, the wins we celebrated, and the challenges we overcame. It's also a time to reconnect, to come together with the people who matter most. While that spirit hasn't changed, the way we celebrate has shifted, shaped by the social environment we're living in today. So on today's News Generation, we're taking a closer look at how people in Korea are wrapping up the year, how this year's celebrations compare to last year, the routines we return to every December, and how we're personally reflecting on the year that was. So as we just saw in the video, people are finding their own ways to wrap up the year's end, holding on to familiar traditions while adapting to changes around them. So Cheska, when you look back and compare this year to last, how would you describe the overall year atmosphere here in Korea this year?
Yeah, so I actually remember because I was doing News Gen this very time last year, and we had some very big national events that happened, including the declaration of martial law that overnight completely changed the course of Korean history, and also the Muan Airport Jeju airplane crash that took lives of many. So last year, it was more subdued, quiet, and many big events at the end of the year were actually cancelled for these reasons. And this year, fortunately, we've had a smoother end of year. But interestingly enough, the trend seems to be more focusing on smaller and intimate gatherings with close ones rather than having a big celebration and or year-end parties. And this could be perhaps due to an ongoing economic slowdown, but more and more people are preferring what we call safe and efficient end of year by choice. And there was actually a survey done that reflects this. So let's take a quick look at the screen to check the numbers. So when the question was asked what their end-of-year plans were, almost half of the respondents said, quote, rest at home, compared to only 35% who said that they would actually do a get-together or party. And if you actually combine the numbers that would do family gathering, which is still more than partying and or end-of-year get-together, you can see that people really prefer a quiet downtime this year. An additional survey also found that almost 70% of people felt this financial burden when it came to a year-end gathering. So there seems to be definitely increasingly more incentive that people find in wanting to stay in, whether it's financials or maybe just, maybe they want that mental sort of reset just to stay home.
So looking at the data, it really seems that this year-end season is less about big celebrations and more about keeping things simple but meaningful. So economic pressures and lingering uncertainties seem to be pushing people towards smaller, quieter ways of closing out the year. And that shift is especially visible in workplace culture, which used to define the year-end season in Korea. So Moonju, year-end company dinners were once known for going on late into the night, but how has Korea's year-end company dinner culture kind of evolved?
Yeah, the inseparable atmosphere of the year-end company gatherings or dinners has changed dramatically this year, or even more recently. Unlike the past where we would continue drinking up until late night, even going through multiple rounds, these days many prefer to have lunch over dinner, and we're also seeing it rise in notices like voluntary attendance or even leave immediately after the meal. Right. Additionally, we can observe a stark contrast in year-end celebrations. For instance, a super luxury cake priced at a shockingly 500,000 won, approximately $450 to $500, has been released this year, marking a 100,000 won increase from last year's most expensive option.
Wow.
On the other hand, convenience stores are offering mini cakes at just like 5,000 won. It's like 100 times gap.
Yeah.
In case of coffee, there's a similar divide here. Either premium or budget-friendly options are trending, reflecting the polarized purchasing behavior we see as the year comes to an end. And interestingly, I think this trend is closely related to the current economic situation and the distinct income disparity here in South Korea these days.
So thank you for telling me about this budget cakes at convenience stores. I'll be grabbing one later. So it really shows how the year-end season has become a mirror of today's economy, more cautious, more selective, and increasingly divided in how people choose to spend. So to get also a more global perspective, we're going to speak with someone from a country whose year-end looks very different from Korea's. And that conversation will take place right after the break, so don't go anywhere.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search out channel Arirang News. Click Posts and cast your vote in the poll. Make a new type of news with us.
Joining us today is Alexandra, from Australia, where year-end celebrations come with summer weather and a very different atmosphere from what we experience here in Korea. So hello, thank you so much for connecting with us today. And hello to your dog as well.
Hello.
Thank you so much for having me. As always, it's an absolute pleasure. And you're right, New Year's looks very different in Australia than the rest of the world. So more than happy to share what it looks like for us.
So to dive right into it, so what does the year-end look like in Australia this year? Is it any different from previous years?
Well, in Australia, it's usually quite warm this time of year, especially in Sydney and Queensland. So most people will spend New Year's on the beach with their friends and family. They usually will start lining up the night before or on the morning of New Year's Eve so that they can get the best spots, they can watch all the fireworks, they can have lots of drinks and just be with people they love. But definitely doing it outside, if the weather allows it.
I mean, that sounds so glorious. And Alexandra, as you've heard in our discussion, we're talking about this very interesting trend of how people our age or MZ generation are starting to use this new year for a more quieter downtime. I'm also curious, how do you and people around your age usually celebrate the end of the year?
Well, this year is going to be a little bit quieter for us. We had the Bondi massacre recently, so a lot of the celebrations are a little bit more subdued, but we do tend to people my age just love to party and be with our friends. So again, we have a lot of beach parties, a lot of house parties. Some people will organize big houses on the beach with all their friends to go and celebrate there. But that's usually how we celebrate. We just make sure that we're with the ones we love the most and lots of alcohol.
Yeah, I see. So our last question for you today is, looking back on 2025, what stands out to you the most and what are you hoping of in this coming next year?
Yeah, well, this year has been massive, especially in Australia. We saw the under 16 social media ban at the end of the year, which was a really huge step for us. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out next year. I also think that there have been a lot of big changes in tech and the way that people view tech. The fashion industry is changing as well. So there's a lot of exciting things going around. That I can't wait to see in 2026. And personally, I am getting married next year. So I am very excited for 2026 because I've waited a long time for this. So it's finally here.
Well, congrats on your wedding and hope everything goes to plan. And just Happy New Year. Thank you for joining us today.
Really, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Life.
Thank you so much. And Happy New Year to everybody there as well. I really appreciate all the times I've come on this year. And yeah, I wish everybody endless joy and happiness in 2026.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you so
So we just heard from someone from Australia about how year-end celebrations can look very different depending on where you are and the local culture. But here in Korea, the younger generations are approaching the end of the year in a very different way as well. So Cheska, can you tell us what the latest year-end trends are for millennials and Gen Zs here in Korea?
And I love that Alexandra also gave us a very different perspective because among MZ generations, the year-end trend, surprisingly, has been less about parties or celebrations, but more about, quote, self-focus and reflection. So in Korean, we have a term called gatseng, which we discussed previously on NewsGen, meaning living like God, but it means more like living a very disciplined, routine life. So young people are choosing to disconnect and focus more on self-growth. They actually have, a challenge called the lock-in challenge, where people literally isolate themselves to build habits. And just a funny little episode was I heard about the lock-in challenge and I realized that's pretty much what I do. Because when you have a very social circle, I think your life is pretty much a locked-in challenge half of the time. And apparently there's also another thing called the winter arc. Now, this was something very interesting and it's a period of very intense, focused self-discipline for personal training. So instead of hibernating, which is what we usually do in the cold season, for a 90-day period from October to December, they use this dark, cozy season for internal growth and not just resting. So when they come out of this winter season, they're all built or like they have these new habits and disciplines. So this is one thing they do. And also surveys show this most clearly in the 20s because more than half of the respondents said they are planning to invest time to build routines and reset goals. And one way of interpreting this is that it could be perhaps that big milestones, like owning a home or, getting married, seems too far away. So I think people are choosing something that they can focus on very closely, which is building, smaller habits and building stability in life. That will build the foundations for something that is physically and mentally stable and more stronger.
So with this focus on self-growth, are there any pitfalls or things young people should be careful about during the year-end season? Like, how does this reflective year-end trend affect the mental health for millennials and Gen Zs, Minjun?
The MZ generation should be mindful of year-end depression, actually. As the year comes to a close, and as Cheska mentioned, we often take time to reflect, and while, natural introspection is kind of healthy, but if there is a significant gap between the reality and your expectation that you have thought of in the beginning of the year, it can lead to increased psychological pressure, potentially resulting in stress or feelings of depressions. Those in their 20s and 30s are particularly at risk because they exist in an environment where social media fosters comparisons with others, and this can make them feel left behind. In fact, according to the 2024 Mental Health Factual Survey, 43% of MZs reported often feeling stressed through the comparisons with others. Moreover, seasonal factors such as reduced sunlight during winter can further increase the risk of depression and feelings of lethargy. Therefore, it is essential to engage in, minor healing activities, whether it means, drinking a warm cup of tea, practicing meditation, even going out for a walk.
I think you brought up a really important point. Like, while it's important to reflect and set goals in the way you mentioned earlier, it's also important to too much comparison or pressure can easily lead to stress or the so-called year-end blues, especially for people in their 20s and 30s and shorter daylight hours and the constant exposure to social media media can make those feelings stronger. So small self-care habits like enjoying a warm drink, meditating, or going for a walk can really help. So speaking of which, we asked people on the Arirang News YouTube channel, how would you like to spend your year-end and New Year holiday? So here's what the results showed. So most people plan to spend their year-end in a relaxed and low-key way, with 77% saying they prefer to unwind at home. Only a small portion, 8%, plan to attend year-end gatherings, while 9% aim to achieve one final goal before the year ends. The remaining 6% have other plans. So looking at these results, it's clear that most people are choosing a quiet, reflective end to the year rather than big celebrations. It's also interesting to see how people are using the year-end not just for celebrations, but also to take stock of their year in a personal way. And many are reflecting on what they've watched, read, or purchased, and some even are taking the time to organize their space or review their goals. And a small portion also said they would do this, one final goal. I know. And there's still 24 hours. So.
I'm rooting for you. Get that one final goal in.
Right. Don't be too panicked about this. You still have time. So do you have any year-end routines, Cheska, or traditions that help you personally wrap up the year?
Yes, I do. And I think, Susan, you know that I do. And again, I'm giving my whole heart and support to anyone that wants to accomplish just one more goal till the end of the year. I'm very much a planner, a reflective person, or whatever the title may be. But I always make a series of reflection journaling. So I use social media photo album, which is a great way to archive. So I go through all the photo archives and write down the top things of each month, and then look at the big trend of the year as a whole. I also have a big question that I ask myself every year. It differs from year to year because many things can happen, but some of the common questions are: what made you cry the most this year? The biggest lesson that you've learned? What goal did you set last year that you actually did accomplish? But more importantly, I always do a resolution check, and I check what are the goals that I set that I didn't get to accomplish. And I go back and check why, and I do my annual PPT party, as you know, with people. And surprisingly, as you talked about, Sujin, I'm seeing more and more people do this, quote, end of year reflection, even with simple questions like, what movie did I watch? What book do I remember? Or who are the people that made me have a very special moment this year? But to me, I think reflection has always been the most important part of my life. And like we discussed earlier, I think it's the most fundamental component of not only growth, but truly understanding and loving yourself in a way that gets to know who you are. And we're happy to set goals. It's easy to see what we have accomplished, but I think it takes a very special discipline and courage to follow through on the ones we didn't get to make. Because I don't think anyone wants to sort of face what didn't work out, right?
Right.
But I think it's a time not to punish or criticize, but to really allow yourself the moment to sit down and ask, why didn't this work out? Yeah, and sometimes I think you find out more about yourself, but about the life and the conditions that have happened. So instead of panicking, instead of criticizing, I think it's just a good way to say, these are the conditions that didn't work in my favor. What can I do next to make it better?
I think reflection is really important. It kind of, it gives you a moment to kind of step back and also remember things you were grateful for for the past year. So what about you, Moonju?
Yeah, one of the most mostly done routine that many people follow in the new year or at the end of the year is buying a new diary.
Yes.
And
or calendar.
Yeah, and reflecting on the plans that they have made in the beginning of the year. Personally, I don't often use a diary, so I don't engage in this kind of practice. Neither do I kind of reflect on myself at the end of the year. Though I think I should have done some to be a better person.
It's not too late. You still have 24 hours.
You have 20 hours left.
I have 14 hours maybe? Yeah, I'll try to think about
Squeeze that in.
Yeah, I'll squeeze that in. Anyways, I do have my own year-end tradition, but I don't think I can strictly call this a routine. It's more of like a fun thing for me. I try to watch the year-end the awards, and I've been doing this for almost a decade now. They have like 3 or major awards that's airing.
Award ceremonies.
There's 3 going on today. Anyways, this moment allows me to discover TV shows or dramas I miss. I think at this point, our viewers might know how I love Korean TV shows, dramas, the reality programs, right? So it gives me a list to binge watch in the coming year. So I believe the year-end period is a time for us all to, kind of enjoy quality moments doing what we love, which is watching TV shows for me. And that's why I think I often tune into the countdown on one of the 3 awards broadcasted on December 31st. Besides, I like to spend some quality time with my longtime friends to celebrate this last day moment.
Oh, that sounds really special as well. So looking back on the year, it's clear that a lot has happened politically, socially, and also environmentally. So many people are using this time to reflect on both the highs and the challenges of the past 12 months. So Cheska, how do you feel about the year that's ending? What are your hopes or wishes for the year that's coming?
I'm not the greatest believer in Chinese zodiac, but 2025 was a year of snake. And to gently borrow the words from the Chinese zodiac meaning, it literally said, quote, shedding of old skins, like the snake does, transformations, and coming face to face with many parts that would have held you down. Which means that for some, perhaps many that are watching, including myself, this year meant a lot of breaking and breaking away from the things that didn't serve us. But that hurts a lot. So, if you had a lot of challenges and unexpected struggles, I would like to leave with a lot of love and strong sense of support for next year, because the zodiac signs, not because of that, but after shedding, always comes a renewal. And with the year of a horse, I think it's time to race forward, lighter, faster, and happier with News Generation.
As well, very well said. And I think I love how you linked the fact that this year was the year of the snake, and now next year is a year of the red horse, a sign of vitality. So it's a great connection. What about you, Moonju?
Yeah, just briefly, this year we have experienced many unexpected changes in politics, as well as social issues and even entertainment industry issues, right? So and the weather was kind of odd and kind of random this
very
year,
much,
right? It was very unstable.
It snowed till April, if you remember.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully as we move into the new year starting tomorrow in like 13 hours maybe approximately, I hope we can all find the stability and wish everyone, all viewers, the best of luck for the upcoming year 2026.
Very well said. So it's always fascinating to hear how people reflect on the past year, balancing both the highs and the challenges. As we close out 2025, it's clear that for many, this year has been a pivotal moment for both personal and professional growth. For me personally, I had this wonderful opportunity to join NewsGen, and it's been a huge year of growth. And so whether it's been a year of hard work or moments of true joy, there's something to take away as we head into the new year. So here's to hoping 2026 brings even more opportunities for growth, success, and happiness for all of us. So that brings us to the end of today's episode of News Generation. When NewsGen will be back on Friday in the new year at 10:30 a.m. Korea time with more stories and discussions. A big thanks to Cheska.
Pleasure has always been mine, and happier new year to everyone.
Happy New Year, and also Moonju.
Happy New Year again to everyone.
Right, for both joining us on our last day of 2025. And to our viewers, thank you for joining us, and Happy New Year. We are News Generation.